Hi, in this lecture I'm going to show you how to use filters for tables in Microsoft Excel, how to delete duplicate data for tables in Microsoft Excel, and how to get a table back to a normal range of cells. Okay, so filters, what are they? Well, basically they're used to narrow down data based on set criteria which you choose. So this is quite handy in terms of sometimes when you've got a lot of data and you just want to narrow down to a certain subset of the data, then instead of doing this manually, such as removing the rows yourself, you can simply hide them by selecting the filter. Now, filters are one of the basic building blocks of Microsoft Excel data skills. So as your skills progress and you start to use more advanced features of Microsoft Excel, filters definitely will aid you in helping you to understand how the other data tools work in Microsoft Excel, and also help you to actually get your task done and actually complement the advanced tools of Microsoft Excel. So when it comes to data analysis and cleansing, knowing how to get a subset of your data from a set of information or data is very, very, very useful. In fact, it's critical. So we'll be taking a look at that in this lecture. Also, we'll be looking at how to remove duplicate data in a table. Now, Microsoft Excel has made this quite easy, so we'll be exploring that. And finally, we'll be looking at how to revert a table back to a normal range of cells. So you've got your table, and let's just say you want to remove all the formatting and filters associated with it. Well, I will show you a quick way on how to do this. Okay, filtering. So we can filter data based on a single column or multiple columns for a table in Microsoft Excel. Now, this filter option can be added during the creation of the table or later on. Now, filters can be used to answer questions like, for example, with reference to this table, how many people sold more than 20 items? Or say if we wanted to know just sales data for a specific location, such as the West location. Now, to check if your table has a filter added, you basically look at the header and look for this icon here. So you can see that for each column on this table, we've added 3 filters. So let's click on it and see what options we get. Right. Now, looking at these 2 options here, these basically both say sort the table either alphabetically A to Z or alphabetically but reversed from Z to A. Now, since we clicked on the filter in this column, it would sort the table alphabetically based on this column. So this is a quick way to sort your data. Now, I know you might be thinking sorting, that's not the same as filtering. However, if you think about it, we're still filtering our data. In other words, changing our view of it by sorting it. So that's the reason they've included it under the filter menu, these 2 sort options. Now, the third sort option is sort by color. So if you go into this and go custom sort, you basically get this sort menu here. Now, this is a bit more complex than what we're actually going to cover in this lecture, but we will touch on it in another lecture. So I'm just going to go cancel, go back to our options. Okay, now we've also got this option here, text filters. Now this is text specific. So for example, in our table, if we were looking for the sales rep Rob, then we would type in, if we go here, sales rep equals Rob. So basically, this is saying show rows where the sales rep equals Rob. And then if we pressed OK, you could see that our table becomes collapsed and we've only got 1 row showing Rob. Now, if you'll note, this icon changed from a down arrow to a filter symbol, which is basically like a funnel. And if you go over here and look at our row number, that's gone blue. So that indicates that a filter's been applied to the data. Now, if I just go back, you can see that here is all our values for this particular column. So we had Alan, Bob, Jim, Karen, Rob, and Tony. Now you can see that Rob has been ticked. But what if we wanted to clear our filter? Now you can do this just by clicking here, select all, or you can go to this option here, clear filter from sales rep. Either one will do. Now let's go back and see how we can filter data based on those tick boxes. Okay, now let's just say I wanted to see just rows of data with Alan and Jim. What I would do is I would untick the other values. Now, as you can see, this tick box here has gone to a black square because we're no longer selecting everything, so it's not ticked. Okay, so I've selected Alan and Jim. Now I'm going to press OK. There. You see that? So that's how you use a filter. Now you can also filter by just typing in the values directly. And sometimes if you've got a lot of data, that can be a bit more quicker if you know what you're looking for. Okay, so I'm just going to reset that filter. Okay, now we've seen how we can apply a filter using criteria for text. Let's take a look at numbers. Okay, so Excel is pretty smart in terms of where previously we had text filters, it's recognized that we've got numbers. And so the menu has changed here to give us categories where numbers could be applied to filtering. So for example, we've got this greater than or equal to. So if we wanted to see sales which are greater than or equal to 10, for example, we can use this option. Now, you've also got this same tick box set up here. And again, if you want to select just specific values, for example, if we want just 30, we could untick the others, press OK, and we get 30. Now, just to show you how filters where we're looking for something above or below works, if I go to number filters, now let's just say I wanted to find out everything more than 20, for example. In other words, only bring back rows of data where more than 20 sales have been made. So in this case, I would go to greater than, because remember, we're not including the number 20. We want to look for anything above. So basically 21 sales and above data we want returned. So we get this dialog box, show rows where no of items sold. We're going to say is greater than 20. Press OK. There. You can see that the table has returned only data for where the number of items sold was greater than 20. Now, just going back into this dialog box again, you can also add another criteria here. However, unless you've got something a bit more complicated, I would stay away from it, just because sometimes, especially for beginners, you can actually incorrectly return your data sets because you get the conditions wrong. So starting off, I recommend just using one type of filter criteria. Okay, so that's how you filter data in Microsoft Excel. Now, we've seen number of items sold, and just for completeness, we're going to answer this question. Give me early sales data for the West location. So what I would do is basically clear this filter here to get back our normal data. Go to location. Okay, so we're looking for sales data early for the West location. Now you can use this by going here, text filters equals. However, since this tick box selection here shows us all the unique values that we have in each column, and in this case we only have 3 unique values, east, north and west, we can just deselect the other 2 to only show west. There. So now we have answered this question, give me early sales data for the west location. Now, another thing, folks, to note is that you can combine filters from different columns. So, for example, here, we've got our filter fixed for location west. But let's say we wanted to drill down even further and basically look at only items where the location is in West and we've sold less than 30. So how would we do that? Well, we go to this filter here, know of items sold. We go to number filters. Now we wanted less than 30, so we go here, type in 30. There, you see that? So now we've got two filters that are applied on our set of data. So as you can see, you can basically use filters to drill down on your data and get a subset of the data. Now this is a very powerful way of utilizing your tables in Microsoft Excel and getting results quickly. Deleting and removing duplicates. Okay, so you've got your table of data, but let's say you've got duplicate rows of data and you want a quick way to remove them. Now there are a couple of ways you can actually remove data really quickly, but I'm just going to show you this way with regards to tables. So what you would do is basically click anywhere on the table, go to the Design tab, go to this option here, Remove Duplicates. Now when I click on it, you can see that our entire table becomes selected. We've got this option here, Select All, Unselect All. We've got My Data as headers, and it's ticked. So if your table has headers, leave it ticked. If it doesn't have headers, untick it. Now, it's a bit initially tricky to understand how this works. So basically, what you're telling Excel is search for a column and delete duplicate values in that column plus other columns. So how to basically use this is you basically would look at where you want to find your duplication of data. Now if you know that you have exact rows of data which are duplicated, then you would leave all your columns ticked. And if you press OK, Excel would then go and find out where you got duplicate items and remove them. So in this case, you can see that for this entry here, we've got a duplicate here. So if I leave all these three ticked and press OK, we get this message, 1 duplicate values found and removed, and 6 unique values remain. So as you can see, Microsoft Excel has gone through the table and found an exact match, in other words, a duplicate row of data, and deleted it. Now I'm just going to undo that and show you another use for this tool and how it actually works when you select, for example, just one column. So we're telling Microsoft Excel to delete duplicate values in this table. And we had, in the previous example we just did, all three columns ticked. Now, let's just say you wanted to remove duplicate values for whatever reason based on the number of items sold. So you want Excel to go through just this column, and any duplicate entries, you want it to remove those rows of data. Well, what you would do then is untick sales rep, untick location. So now we're telling Excel, just search through here, where you find duplicate entries, delete the rows. So just from looking at this, we can tell that we've got two values here which are the same. So when we press OK, Excel will get rid of these two rows because we only told it to delete the rows of data based on the criteria for this column here being duplicate data. So if I press OK, we can see that we got this message, 2 duplicate values found and removed, and 5 unique values remain. You see that? So it's important to understand that when you're using this function, be careful, because if you don't select the right columns, then you could end up with data being deleted, which shouldn't be. So in this instance, we deleted numbers, but in reality, you'd probably select all the columns in your table to make sure that you're deleting just duplicated data. Because if I just undo this, you can see that in this instance, these two rows were the same. But let's say this was somebody else's name. Let's say we had that. Now, if I had told Excel to go through just this column and find duplicates, then it would remove this row of data as well as this. Now that would actually be a mistake because these two are not identical. So you see the danger there. So just to show you, there. So if I say to Excel, number of items sold, and basically remove duplicates based on just this column. If I go OK, you can see that Excel says 2 duplicate values found and removed, 5 unique values remain. So you see the danger here, folks. We actually removed data which technically wasn't duplicated. It was just because we narrowed it down to one column as a criteria. So there is a danger of using this function. So what I would advise is, as a rule of thumb, have all the columns selected. So just to undo this and go back, these 3 columns, or however many columns you've got in your table, make sure they're ticked. That way, you'll ensure that only identical rows are removed. So in this case, if I press OK again, it says no duplicates found, because each row is uniquely different from the other. Now, I realize this is a lot to take in. Best way, experiment, rewatch this lecture, and ask any questions or queries, because as a beginner, to understand the logic is critical. So take your time and experiment. That's the most important thing. Getting a table back to a normal range of cells. Okay, now this is a real quick one. Basically, let's say you've got your table and for whatever reason you decide you actually don't want it to be a table anymore. How do you get rid of all the colors, the filters, and turn it back to a normal set of cells? Well, it's real easy. You simply select all the cells of your table, go to the Design tab, click this option here, Convert to Range. Now, you'll note that it says convert this table to a normal range of cells, and more critically, it says all of the data is preserved. So you don't lose your data when you convert a table back to a normal range of cells. You get this prompt when you click that Convert to Range option, saying, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? Go to yes. Now, the filters you'll notice have disappeared. The formatting is still there. To get rid of this, you could basically select it all and manually put the colors back and remove the lines and everything. Or a real quick way is to basically find a blank cell and go to this option here under the Home tab, Format Painter. Click it. Now you'll see that our selected cell has become highlighted and has these little kind of dotted lines going in animation. And you can see our cursor has turned to a painting tab. Now, Format Painter enables us to take the formatting of one cell and apply it to another cell or group of cells. So in this case, we selected a normal plain cell, and we're going to apply it to our table to get it back to a normal look and feel. So to do that, you left click and hold and select all the cells that you want to go back to normal. We then let go of our left mouse button. There. Now, as you can see, our data has gone back to a very plain looking and normal feel. So that's how you get a table back to a normal range of cells. Okay, so that concludes this lecture. We have covered how to filter data in tables. We have looked at how to remove duplicate data in tables and the different scenarios in which you would use this tool, as well as the pitfalls of using this tool. We've also seen how to revert a table back to a normal range of cells. Now, there was a lot to cover in this lecture, so by all means rewatch it, experiment with your own examples, and reach out if you have any queries. Thank you.